Thanks to a lawsuit filed by legal and civil rights groups, photos have now been released showing some of the horrific conditions inside certain Arizona area border detention centers. We're going to have some details about these, but first we want to show you some of the photos. Hopefully you'll be able to tell from these exactly what's going on. You're seeing there people sitting on benches, sitting on concrete, laying down, wrapped in like mylar sheets and things like that. That looks like a morgue, but it's actually people sleeping so tightly packed together that they can't move, wrapped in those sheets, because it gets extremely cold, and those plastic sheets are in some cases the only protection from the elements they actually have. Seeing it there too, laid out on the benches, laid out on the floor.
It looks like in that episode of Better Call Saul, the brother, if you guys have watched that, he wraps himself in that. You know, the conspiracy theorists of the world are going to be like, we knew it, there's the FEMA camps, right? Right.
It looks like footage from Iraq, like corpses are just being like held in a prison or something.
Yeah.
Like,
so the reality, of course, is not the insane conspiracy theory, oh, they're going to round us all up. No, we've been rounding up the immigrants for a long, long time. And just because you didn't see where we put them doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And that's why the Border Patrol was so insistent on fighting to make sure that these pictures never got seen.
yeah.
Well, look, if somebody fights to make sure that you don't see something, well, that's interesting. There might be something there. Look, it's your private stuff. That's your business. But the government works for us. We pay their wages, and they represent us.
Yeah.
So they don't get to say, no, you don't get to see what we're doing here with your money and in your name. Of course we get to see. That's why we finally got to see the pictures, and it doesn't look pretty.
Yeah, so we have to give credit to Judge David C. Burry during the discovery process in the court case that's going on right now. He allowed video surveillance to be released. Then some of the legal and civil rights groups went through those thousands of hours of video and culled out photos showing some of the most horrific abuses. And as I said early on, most of the footage comes from southeast Arizona. So this isn't necessarily representative of all of the detention centers, but at least some. And we want to give you a little bit of information about what happened in the tapes that we didn't necessarily weren't able to show. Some photographs show migrants lying shoulder to shoulder on bare concrete floors while neighboring cells are empty, sleeping pads stacked against walls. So that's perhaps insult to injury, that they're cramming people into small areas and not giving them sleeping pads, even though there's empty areas that have sleeping pads.
No, why would they do that?
Because they're assholes.
Is that just to be an asshole? They see these people, these immigrants, as less than human. They're not as good as them people. These are poor people from another country who are dirty and they don't speak English, so we can treat them less than human. That's what that is?
That seems like that's what it is.
And look, we're not talking about prisons or detention centers. We're talking about gulags, right, in this country. And there are people that get ripped out of the hands of their children every day in this country. They get disappeared. Their kids go and live with their neighbors or their relatives that are in this country. And they go to these camps and they get shuffled around and they get stuffed in like sardines into these cells, right? Treated inhumanly. I remember I interviewed a woman who went through this process, who actually got detained and deported. And she said that when the Red Cross came and gave them soap for the first time in weeks, that they cried. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way we're treating people in this country right now. And what I want you to know out there is, if they'll do this to immigrants and get away with it, then like pretty soon they're knocking on your door for some reason too. You know, I went to the Holocaust Museum with my brother, and if somebody like Trump gets elected, you know, we're heading down that path. Like, the first people they put in detention camps were political dissidents. That's who they put in the first concentration camps, right? And then they put people like gypsies and, you know, homosexuals and then Jews, right? And so there's a whole bunch of people that end up like that. And if they can do that to anybody in this country, be careful, because they might knock on the door for you.
And this is before Trump comes in. I mean, so let's
under
just,
Obama.
So let's just call it what it is, because the Democrats give you pretty talk, but then Obama broke the record for deportations of undocumented immigrants, and these conditions. And look, under Trump, it might be a hell of a lot worse. He promises that it'll be a hell of a lot worse. And, you know, my takeaway from the Holocaust museums I've gone to is they never believed it. Like, as it was happening, they're like, no, he's not really going to do that, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever fascist government was coming into power. No, and there's like old articles you see where they say they believe that this is an appeal to, you know, populism, but that the government won't actually do that, right? Or the candidate won't actually do that. Now, okay, but let's focus on today, because this isn't on Trump. This is under the Obama administration. So, look, to Ryan's point, number of suicide attempts because of how bad it is. There's been 18 people that have died in ICE facilities because of medical neglect. So now, are these people that are running these facilities, in this case, this particular story is about Customs and Border Protection. So, and there's a couple of different places that they go to. 62% of them are in private prisons. The Justice Department just said that they're going to get rid of the private prisons, but that does not necessarily affect some of the conditions today or what the prisons that are being used by Department of Homeland Security. So it gets complicated.
And is that because of this? Is that why they? Is that
you
why
know,
they made that
that's
decision?
I thought the same thing as I was reading it, Ryan. No one has connected the two, but it is interesting that they made that decision and made it public earlier in the week, and then this gets released right
There had
afterwards.
been an ongoing analysis of the outcomes of the private prisons.
That's right.
versus
The
public
only
ones. So it could be it could be a mixture of different things.
That's right, and it might be that they were headed in that direction anyway, but they hurried up the press release on it, knowing that news is also going to come out. We don't know that.
And it definitely came out of nowhere for the Corrections Corporation of America, who runs all these private prisons, right? Their stock tanked 50%. Like they had to halt their stock.
Yeah.
It's the people who run all the private prisons for profit in this country. Their stock dropped 50% within a matter of minutes. So I'm sure they would have gotten advanced word if there was going to be a slow rollout through some administrative process. It seemed like it came out of nowhere.
So in this case, Customs and Border Protection is supposed to just keep these guys and for a small period of time and then move them.
Up to 12 hours
Yes.
in their manuals.
And they're not supposed to be there overnight. But oftentimes they're there overnight.
Yeah,
And-
but only 80% of those between September of 2014 and August of 2015. Only 80% were held for more than a day.
And so then you've got these conditions where nobody's getting a shower, people ask for bathroom breaks, don't necessarily get them. Everybody's lying together. Everybody's lying on concrete. The women and kids are also on concrete. And then when they ask for medical help, they don't get it. That's why those 18 died under ICE, which is slightly different. But it's the same idea here that unites them all. And so why do they do it? Well, look, one political possibility is that some knucklehead somewhere up the chain thinks, well, this will provide a disincentive. Then they'll know not to come back here. I mean, believe me, that there are right-wingers who'd be like, yeah, of course, yes, that's right. But that's not how it works. And what's the message we're sending to the rest of the world? I mean, give us your poor, you're tired, and we will greatly mistreat them under horrible conditions where some of them will die. That's not what the Statue of Liberty says. But the second reason is human nature. We all know the Stanford prison experiment. You put some people as guards and you put some people as prisoners, and no matter what the situation in the Stanford prison experiment, they all knew that no one had done anything wrong. They knew it was an experiment, and they were Stanford students. And immediately the guards started abusing the inmates. And the inmates started taking it, having a sense of inferiority, and then acting according to their role and then having rage, and then the guards make it worse. And you know what happens? This happens at the end. We all live in a Stanford prison experiment, okay? And yet we never learn. So you tell the guards, these are the least powerful people on the planet. They have no power at all. There's no chance you're ever going to get in trouble for any of this. None of them are connected to a judge. None of them are connected to a politician. None of them are connected to any power. Do whatever you want. This is the result you get.
And you know the Emerald Lazarus poem that you quoted before on the Statue of Liberty that says, "Give me your tired, your poor, your wearied masses yearning to breathe free." I used to think that meant oh, we're such a generous country. Open our doors and let them in, and we'll be kind to them and we'll integrate them. But I think what it actually means is those people are going to come in and they're the baddest ass people from around the world, right? They're brave enough to march through a desert to get somewhere better so they can raise their family in an awesome place, And people have been doing this for millennia. This is what people do. They move to a better place to provide, for themselves and their family and send their kids to a decent school, right? And that's what makes America awesome. That's what that means on the Statue of Liberty. It doesn't mean we're so generous. It means, no, those are the people we want. That we want the badasses from all around the world. We want them right here in this country, and we're going to build one hell of a country if we have all those people coming to our shores right here.
Yeah, the fighters, the warriors, the ones who, go the extra mile, in this case, literally, to provide for their family and to look for that American dream. Yeah. They shouldn't be forced to live in an American nightmare.
Right. Yeah. And they say in Central America, the brave ones leave. Isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. So we get the bravest and the hardest working and the most intelligent people from everywhere. It's awesome.
Well, we pretend that we have a culture that respects life. We don't. We don't respect life. We sanction state killing of our own citizens, even when we know that most of the people we kill are poor A lot of them are innocent. They don't have the right representation. So we don't respect life. We don't respect the Constitution. We got rid of habeas corpus, right? So now the thing that they put in the Magna Carta, right, for the 1500s, we don't even have that kind of liberty anymore in America. Now the government can lock you up without charging you indefinitely. So we're operating on a liberty view from somewhere around the 1100s. We don't respect human rights. We don't respect civil rights. We used to be the country that we were proud of our system of law in America. We were proud of our values, meaning we would export civil rights and human rights to the rest of the world. We no longer do that anymore. What we export all the time now is torture. We export drone killings. We export illegal wars. And then the people who reveal that we did all that shit illegally here at home, we then torture them in our own prisons. And now we're torturing immigrants. And if you don't think what we do to other people overseas is exactly what we're going to do to ourselves at home, you're wrong, because we are. We don't have I sound like a right winger a little bit, or a conservative Christian when I say we need a culture that respects life. And we do need a culture that respects life and the dignity of human beings. They respect the dignity of fetuses, but they don't respect the dignity of actual human beings.
You know, the Young Turks has a whole 2-hour show every single day, and you can get it ad-free if you're a member. tytnetwork.com/join. Go.